Welcome to the Transmission Coaching Podcast, powered by ATRA. Today's podcast is sponsored by Gears Magazine, your magazine for the automatic transmission rebuilding industry. Be sure to get into Gears. Get your free subscription at gearsmagazine.com. Click on subscribe. And don't forget to hit like and subscribe to the Coaching Podcast. And now here's your host, Coach Lance Wiggins.
Welcome to the Transmission Coaching Podcast, powered by ATRA. It's a great day to fix transmissions. With me today is my co-host, Miss Vanessa, and two very special guests, two board members of ours from the Midwest chapter and chapter president and Area 6 board member, Mr. Brad Benrud. Welcome.
Thank you.
Area 1 board member, Mr. Dave Wilkes. Welcome.
Well, thank you.
So far, so good. We've had a pretty successful board meeting, I think.
Well, it's coming along really well, and geez, the information you delivered was just awesome. It's so good to look forward to the future, see what we got.
Yeah, I agree. I think that sometimes, when we get into discussions amongst ourselves, in different locations, everybody has different things. Talking to Mike, he says, "Man, all I deal with is trucks. I don't deal with." And I said, "Well, I know we don't deal with rust, ground problems here, but I'm sure you guys do back there." So, for the readers and listeners today, tell us a little bit about yourself, and then how long you've been in business, and what your shop name is, and give us a little promo.
Well, I opened my shop in 1980, and after I had previously worked for another shop in Alaska. And we started out booming. I mean, all I needed to do to get business was I made my own little flyer, sent it to all the automotive shops and dealerships, and within 1 week, I had the phone ringing off the hook, was just swamped with work, and it just grew from there. We've been doing that since 1980, and here it is, 2018.
And what's your shop's name?
Allen Automatic Transmission.
And where are you located at?
La Crosse, Wisconsin.
There it is. For anybody in La Crosse, Wisconsin, make sure to look them up. And Dave, tell us a little bit about yourself and your business.
Well, I started in auto repair in high school, after school, in a gas station, and then worked at front end and brakes and general repair up until about 1980. And then I went to work for Mike King, who had transmission shops in Ventura. And I worked for Mike King until I bought one of his shops in Ventura in 1993. So it's been Dave Wilkes Transmission since 93. And I started out, although I had management experience and was an experienced mechanic, I started out as an installer, moved up into rebuilding after a short time, diagnostician, shop foreman, and then I moved into a manager. So I'd been through all the ranks at an existing multi-shop operation.
Experience shows that. It does. I mean, I think that, like Gary Jennings, one of our board members, was saying that he is undoubtedly, he admits it, I'm not a builder. Mm-hmm. I don't build. I do marketing. I'm a marketing guy that owns a business. You are a rebuilder that owns a business coming through the ranks. Did you do the same thing?
Exactly. I started out rebuilding, added another shop. Like I said, I worked in Alaska for about 7 years.
What shop was that in Alaska?
That was B&B Transmissions.
Got to throw out a little love to Butch.
My buddy Butch Novotny owns that, yes. And worked myself up the ranks, R&Ring, and then got to become rebuilder, and left their rebuilder and left and started my own shop in 1980. So that was in like 1973, I think I moved up to Alaska.
So I'm going to ask that experience now for both of you. This question is for both of you. So you were building. At some point in time, there was a desire to grow, to own your own shop and move into that. Now that you've moved in to your new shop, and then you went through the trials and tribulations, you are a full owner. Do either of you still build?
I full-time rebuild.
Okay.
That is my purpose in life.
Got it.
And that's what I do.
Okay.
No, I don't rebuild. I mean, I supervise the jobs. I oversee the diagnosing. I'll look at the rebuilding. So I'm there as a viewer, making decisions, but hands-on, the take apart, put together. No, I don't do that. But I am involved with the rebuilding processes and making decisions on parts and helping figure out problems. You want to find cause of failure, which is huge.
Sure.
And it's not always that easy. So I'm definitely involved with that. And then as well as diagnosing in the car, road testing, chassis diagnosing, So I'm involved with that shop foreman process as well as customer service, sales, and I now have a manager who's doing the sales, but I'm still involved with that and overseeing pretty much all the steps of the customer's process as far as in the shop, in the door, getting fixed, and then leaving.
Here's a great example, I think, of where two successful shops have two owners that have taken on different roles. But I think it just shows that it's important where they've found their strengths and realize where they best fit in and where,
the diversity.
Yeah.
Yeah, I completely agree with that.
You don't always have to be just a manager. You don't always have to be the rebuilder. You figure out what works for your business and make it work.
So, do you? This is towards Brad here. Do you have like any instances where you may have to talk to the customers? And you just.
Yeah, I mean, as I started out, I had to do it all. I had to start out rebuilding the transmissions, but I had to work with the customers all the time because I was a one-man operation.
How many do you have now?
As I grew, we were up to 5. Now I'm down to 4.
Okay.
We grew into a family business. I have my son that is a very outgoing, personable guy, and he's great with customers. He can handle customers. He can sell everything. He's just perfect on that end. But he's also a natural mechanic, so he can work on both ends. But he's the front man, and I found out years ago you do what you do best.
Yeah.
And he's the best at doing that. I'm the best at doing rebuilding. And then we've got other shop personnel that do the mechanical end of it too. So
Sure, that makes sense. And like Vanessa was saying, the diversity between the two. I mean, obviously, if the love is to build transmissions and not to talk to the angry customer, then do it. Right? I mean, the last thing I want to do is talk to that. I remember, and this goes back a long ways, but and I told this story at an expo once. And it was the Friday afternoon, somebody promised somebody something. The guy shows up with a dually and says, you need to put this dash in. And there I am, installing a dash. And the guy comes back and there's a rattle noise and he's mad and upset. And I'm thinking to myself, man, all I tried to do was help you. I didn't want to, why am I getting yelled at here? And it turns out that I forgot to put the cigarette lighter because that's what they used to have back then, in the ashtray. Got it all fixed. But so how has the industry changed since you first purchased your places? I mean, we're talking a few years now. Recently, I know that there's been some pretty big changes with CVTs coming out. But for you specifically, how has the industry changed? Either one of you can chime in anytime.
Well, I'd say it's just the number of transmissions. I mean, it's crazy how many transmissions there are. Back, in the 80s, I don't know if it was exactly 8, but there's basic transmissions, and we had exchanges for just about all of them, and we'd rebuild them sometimes, but if we had a problem with one or busy, we had other transmissions ready to install. I mean, nowadays, there's so many transmissions that you just can't have that. And then
can't have the parts on stock or the transmission assembly on stock, right?
Yes, and they're very much more complicated. The installations, taking them out and put them in, is way more complicated. Diagnosing, everything used to be in the transmission. Now you got computers and wiring harnesses. You got engine problems affecting the transmission management, and so you can stuff that you just wouldn't expect to cause a problem is comes up new all the time.
Don't forget the all-important driver error.
The loosen up behind the wheels. Is that what you're saying?
That's the guy we're talking about.
Yeah, my shop's not much different than growing the way Dave's has. I mean, we've evolved over the years. I mean, at one point we were it for transmissions in my area. I mean, there was nobody else that was even close, and we stocked units. We had all kinds of options and worked with dealerships. The dealerships didn't even have anything available to them at that time, so we were it. And as time has revolved, and here we are now, 2018, and everybody's got remans now. They're available, and it makes it so much more convenient for independent shops like me. If I don't want to rebuild one and I don't have the time, we can buy one, we can put it in. So we got those options. Where back then, there was no option.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
You had to go to the transmission specialist.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
And even today, we still are the transmission specialist, but we've diversed into some general repair too, because we get so much work involved with transmission complaints and the diagnosis of that. And we found so many times that you don't need a transmission, you need an electrical repair.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Unfortunately,
or gas in the tank.
Yeah, and unfortunately, on the other end of the spectrum, we're in the general repair that aren't familiar with transmissions like we are. They will replace a transmission and may find out after the fact that they needed to fix that electrical problem too. So,
Still have the same exact problem that they had when they started.
Right.
For $3,500, you
Right.
get a free air filter.
Right.
No, I find that you're right as far as the competitors and the different options that customers have as far as repair shops doing transmissions, that a lot of times they're great repair shops, and I got a lot that I deal with that are very good repair shops. But all too often we get calls, well, how much for a transmission? Well, it's slipping, and that's the deciding factor, that's what it's needed. And even from the dealer, well, they wanted to put in a transmission. The thing is dealerships don't have transmission technicians that do repairs on or rebuilding on transmissions.
True, yeah.
And so if you have to take anything apart, they don't do that. So all they do is change the whole component, like a starter or alternator. For us, there's a lot of things that can be repaired with the transmission in the car. And because we are rebuilders, we're familiar with those kinds of things because we see those, and we're willing and capable of doing those types of repairs and save a couple $1,000s to a customer, and it's a very good repair. It's the right repair. It's a single port repair, I call it. So being a specialist, we're able to offer more in-depth services than someone that only are performing transmission service where all they do is replace it, and they're just not that bad. I don't think any of those are doing it intentional. It's just they're not as experienced and have the knowledge that we do. And a lot of that stuff, being involved with the HRA. Give a plug here for the HRA. I mean, the bulletins and information that we have, being involved with that, gives us that technical information, and with our expertise, able to perform those repairs. And dealerships and independent repair shops that are doing general repair, they just don't have the volume of work that we see to make us more familiar with repairs that are option that are of great value to the customer and a good fix for the car.
I remember when if you were going to do a warranty repair on a vehicle, it needed to be $1,300 or less. If you can do the job for $1,300 or less, then you can repair it. Otherwise, you had to replace it. And at the time, this is going back into the mid-'90s someplace, but at the time, there was not a lot of E4OD, 40100, AOD, 470W transmissions. You got it from I think it was Fred Jones used to do. They were like certified at the time, and you get their transmissions as a reman. But there wasn't a lot of E4OD, 40100 remans, and it was interesting to see that after these 3, 4, 5 years of, the parts went up. It seemed like on purpose, and then all of a sudden we're replacing them. But that's where that's where we thrive as an industry, as a transmission rebuilding industry, is for those things. That's easy. That's easy to do. I mean, if you're in your area, kind of like what Mike was saying, you probably deal with a lot of trucks. I would assume, not a lot of cars. Where for us, we're Jaguars, Toyotas. I mean, you name it, all kinds of different.
Yeah, in the Midwest, we do a lot of trucks. We do farm trucks, work trucks. I mean, that's probably 80% of our transmission business is trucks.
Yeah,
cars have kind of fallen off the wayside. A lot of it is SUVs now and family cars that we work on. But yeah, that's just the majority of it is truck work, and that's a great part of the transmission business, because truck work, people need those for work, and
sure.
They have no problem spending the money that they need to have that thing on the road, and they want it right away. So I mean,
I heard 2 or 3 years ago when they were doing the big oil boom in the Dakotas. Shops were over there. I mean, charging $4,000, $5,000, $6,000 for a transmission to get done. I'm like, you're hooking people. That's a bad idea. So, do you guys do anything else other than transmission? I mean, any like motor work, stuff like that?
We do a lot of general repair, mainly because of the fact, like I mentioned before, we get customers in that think they have a transmission problem, and now it's an engine-related problem or electrical problem or something on that order. So we started doing those repairs because we weren't getting the quality comeback repair out of the customer.
Rather than send them away.
Rather than send them away, and even if we did recommend somebody, a lot of times they wouldn't pick up on the problem either. So we started doing it, And now we've expanded that, so when we have a vehicle in, we'll go over and do a complete analysis of it, if it needs brakes, if it needs exhaust, if it needs engine leak repairs, anything on the car while it's there being fixed for the transmission. We offer that service. We don't advertise the service that we do general repair. We get probably 75% of our work now is add-on general repair. So
Interesting.
it's a good add-on, yeah.
We're pretty much transmission specialists. We'll selectively do some other general repair, but we don't advertise for it. And, we're like the orthopedic surgeon. And so you go to your general practitioner and they send you to, orthopedic surgeon or the specialist. We're the specialists. And so we get a lot of referrals from regular repair shops that are good quality repair shops. And they're busy enough they just don't choose to do the transmission because they know that they're not as good at it as we are. And so we respect that. And if there's a customer that comes to us that's in need of another repair, we'll usually refer them back to their originating shop.
Sure.
So there's a continuity of repair on the other brakes and services for there. Occasionally, it makes sense for us to do it because it's already there and they're asking us, and it's something we're capable of doing. Myself and my technicians are capable and knowledgeable, but we focus on transmissions, and that's just our main wheelhouse with a little bit, but not 5%, 10% general repair.
Kind of like, you get the transmission out and the rear main seal's puking. We're going to replace that for you, or the oil pan's leaking, that kind of thing.
Yeah, stuff that makes sense. I mean, stuff that there's an advantage. Exactly. Rear main seals, we do a lot of that stuff. Stuff when it's already part, it's an advantage to the customer, and we can do a good job on that. We certainly do that because it's a savings to them to do it then.
Sure.
And we offer it. They don't have to, but they have the choice. But as far as engine oil changes, pulling the wheels off and doing brakes, not so much. We're just not equipped, and it's not something we're really geared towards doing.
So both of you guys are involved. Last week, Vanessa and I were talking about chapters and how important it is for shops and communities to be involved in things. Like NPA for or Parents Association for high schools, or clubs here, clubs there. We considered like our ATRA chapters very similar to that, where shops can get together and do things. I know you're involved in the Southern California chapter.
Yes.
And you're involved in the Midwest chapter. Tell us a little bit about your chapter and what goes on with your chapters.
Okay. Well, actually, I got involved with the chapters as far as on a board level back in the 1980s, about 1980, 85, 89. I met Red Girdley, and he got me involved. He had a school back then, a transmission school that I actually went to.
Okay.
And so we got to be pretty good friends. We kind of related to each other pretty well. And he invited me on the board, so I got on the board and served on there, and I'm still there, and I've been president since 2002. And as far as the chapter goes, we try to organize additional events. You were mentioning, we were talking earlier about the CVT program, that the rebuilding program that we added onto the seminar this year, and that was really a good hit in my area. Even though we got
Seal aftermarket product, correct?
Right. Mm-hmm. And even though we got 19 inches of snow, we had 30 people sticking around.
That's a big deal. Yeah, that's a big deal. 19 inches of snow here would shut the place down. Heck, a half inch of rain shuts the place down.
Exactly.
So we've got a good seminar program. We've got good people. We've got a scholarship program that we've developed, and we're still developing over the years, where we are providing money that we've earned from the seminars that we kind of give back to the schools and the communities, and try to get students involved. And we invite students to our seminars, and we have regular attendance with people from schools every year. So, we try to grow our industry as we can with our little area in the Midwest. But we've had good success with that.
So if you had a shop in the area, in either of your area, that was interested in becoming more involved in their chapter, what would you tell them?
I would tell them, if it's in my area and they want to get involved with the chapter, just contact me or contact anybody on the board. We've got 5 or 6 members, and have them come to a seminar. We're always there, and that's a good learning point for them to come, is to go to the seminar, see what we're about, and we've had so many members come to us that way, and it's a well thought out program, and with the technical information we get from ATRA, I mean, it's unsurpassed. It's the best there is in the industry. So
And you can find that at members.atra.com/chapters. Here's your plug for the day. So both you guys have been board members for a while. What do you see as our biggest challenge in the industry right now? 2018, today's the day. I need an answer. Give it to me.
I would say bringing in new blood. We need finding technicians and staffing the shops is an issue. I think it's a fun industry. Transmissions are really clever, really fun and challenging, but bringing people in and having them interested in that. I think back in my day, everybody worked on cars was a gearhead, but not so much today. The cars, the kids don't really, I see working on them, in the driveway after school. They're doing other things. So I think creating an interest and then having a way to train them and bring them along in the industry and shops. I think just today, virtual training, technical department is launching a technical training program. I think that's going to be real instrumental and a real game changer on having shops being able to have a platform for training technicians right there in their shop. We offer excellent seminars. Our annual seminar down in Anaheim is a great technical seminar, and the online information is amazing. Expo. So there's a lot of information available, but having it be organized and available in snippets and segments as needed, and select what you need at the time. This virtual training is really looks exciting, and I'm excited to see that be laid out and being available to shops, because I've been wanting something like this for a while, and I think this is the ticket.
Great.
Yeah, I have to agree with Dave. It's getting new people in the industry and keeping them here. Just like any service industry, we're running into problems with the next generation, having somebody to fill those gaps and training and getting people involved. There's great careers in automotive repair. There's great careers in transmission specialists.
Absolutely.
There's people that make well over $100,000 rebuilding transmissions. You just have to learn your or pay your dues and learn your job, learn your career, and get involved.
But I want it now.
Yeah.
In our society of nows, the over-the-toppers look at me, I want it now.
It's kind of like any major career. You have to put your dues in, and the result is you'll get comeback, or you get payback. You get comebacks too, but you fix those.
That's right.
So do you think your involvement on the board has changed your view or perspective of the industry, or has it helped to open your eyes to some of these situations where maybe just as being an owner you wouldn't have realized?
Well, I think as an owner, I see the need on a local level, on a shop level, that you need training, you need to keep up with the technology to keep repairing vehicles and cars. But on a board level, you see all the people come together, and they have different questions and different thoughts that you realize there's other problems out there than just me and just my shop. It's a big thing. It's a training thing. And so, yeah, I get all kinds of different viewpoints from people, and it helps me understand the industry as a whole and how important ATRE is for us. So.
I just recently saw a commercial, and I haven't seen this for a long time, but UTI was mentioning that they had received some just ginormous grant from the federal government to start training younger guys in the automotive industry. And I know that our local high school has an ROP program and welding program that just received $100,000 or so for new equipment and new parts and a lift. And I'm raising a gearhead, by the way, Dave. I've got the 2005 Suburban and both the heads got pulled off last week, and he used my tools. I sat there and I pointed, and he got it done. So
Nice.
I'm doing my part.
All right.
Good job.
Well, that's going to conclude our podcast for today. Thank you so much for being here. It's a great day to fix transmissions, so let's keep fixing transmissions together. Thanks, guys.
All right, thanks.
Thank you,
Thank
Lance.
you.
Thank you, Vanessa.